January 1945. 10 Downing Street, London. Winston Churchill sits in his study, the glow of his desk lamp illuminating his grim face as he reads intercepted correspondence. With each line, his expression darkens, a vein throbbing in his temple. Finally, with a sharp exhale, he slams the paper down. "Get me Montgomery now," he barks. An aide hesitates. "Sir, the Field Marshal is at his headquarters in—" Churchill cuts him off, his voice rising. "I don't care where he is. Get him on the secure line immediately." The aide, clearly shaken, rushes out. Churchill leans back, relighting a cigar with shaking hands, his gaze fixed on the damning document. It's a private communication from Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery to a fellow British officer discussing the recent Battle of the Bulge. In the letter, Montgomery describes American troops as disorganized, American command as amateurish, and suggests that only British leadership prevented a total American collapse. The words burn in Churchill's mind. He understands immediately. This isn't just an insult. It's a political catastrophe waiting to happen. This is the untold story of the moment Winston Churchill discovered his most famous general had privately savaged American troops, and how close that insult came to shattering the very alliance that was winning the war. Montgomery's private letter wasn't merely rude. It was a strategically suicidal move, written at a moment when American and British forces needed each other most, and discovered at the worst possible time. It forced Churchill to make an agonizing choice: defend his general or preserve the Allied partnership. What Churchill said in that phone call, and what happened next, reveals just how fragile Allied unity truly was, even on the brink of victory. January 1945. The context that made Montgomery's letter so explosive. The Battle of the Bulge, Germany's last desperate offensive, had just been contained. American forces, despite the initial shock, had held critical positions, stopping the German advance and beginning to push back. But the battle had created a firestorm of controversy, particularly regarding command arrangements. Eisenhower had temporarily placed some American forces under Montgomery's command to coordinate the northern response, a purely tactical move due to Montgomery's better communication lines in that sector. Montgomery, however, saw it as proof that American forces needed British command permanently, that American generals were inadequate, and that British military professionalism was inherently superior. On January 7th, Montgomery held a press conference that profoundly outraged American commanders. His tone and choice of words strongly implied that British leadership had rescued American forces from disaster. He suggested that without his steady hand, American armies might have collapsed. The American reaction was volcanic. Even normally diplomatic officers were furious, and Eisenhower himself considered asking for Montgomery's immediate relief. The alliance was stretched to its absolute breaking point. But then, in mid-January, British intelligence intercepted that private communication from Montgomery. Not a public statement, but a deeply personal letter to a fellow British officer, where he expressed his true, unfiltered opinions about American forces and their command. The letter was scathing. Montgomery described American troops as poorly trained and poorly led. He suggested American commands lacked fundamental professional competence. He claimed the Bulge had proven American forces couldn't handle modern warfare without British guidance. But most damningly, he wrote that the Americans got a bloody nose and needed us to wipe it for them. A condescending, insulting characterization of American sacrifice and courage during the Bulge. British intelligence, recognizing the explosive nature of this correspondence, immediately forwarded it to Churchill. They understood that if this letter became public, or worse, reached American commanders, It could destroy the alliance. Churchill read it with mounting horror, grasping immediately that this wasn't just Montgomery being arrogant. This was political dynamite that could fracture Allied unity at the precise moment when final victory was within reach. Churchill's initial reaction was fury, not at Americans, but at Montgomery. He immediately understood what Montgomery apparently didn't. The alliance was asymmetrical now. America provided the vast majority of forces, resources, and industrial capacity. Britain, exhausted after 5 years of war, was increasingly dependent on American strength. In this context, insulting American forces wasn't just rude, it was strategically suicidal. If American commanders learned that Britain's most prominent general held them in such contempt, the political consequences could be catastrophic. Churchill ordered Montgomery contacted immediately. The call was routed through secure military channels. This conversation could not be intercepted or overheard. When Montgomery came on the line, Churchill didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Bernard," he began, his voice dangerously low, "I have just read your letter regarding American forces. Have you completely taken leave of your senses?" Montgomery, caught completely off guard, apparently tried to explain that it was a private communication, merely expressing an honest professional assessment. Churchill cut him off, his voice now a whip crack. "There is no such thing as private communication in wartime. Everything can be intercepted. Everything can be leaked. Everything can be used. And you, Bernard, have just handed our enemies, and I don't mean the Germans, ammunition that could destroy this alliance." According to accounts from those who heard Churchill's side of the conversation, what followed was one of the Prime Minister's most devastating reprimands. "You describe American troops as disorganized and their command as amateurish," Churchill thundered. "These are the same troops who stormed Omaha Beach, who fought across France, who held Bastogne against impossible odds. Are these the disorganized amateurs you describe? You write that Americans needed British leadership to prevent collapse. Bernard, American forces stopped the German offensive at critical points before you ever took command. They held when it mattered. Your role was coordination, not rescue. But worse than being wrong, you are being politically catastrophic. Do you understand what would happen if American commanders saw this letter? Do you grasp that Eisenhower could demand your relief, and the Americans would support him? That Congress might question whether Britain is a grateful ally or a condescending partner? We need the Americans, Bernard. Not in a month, not after the war. Now. We need their forces to finish this war. We need their resources to rebuild Britain. We need their partnership for whatever comes after Germany is defeated. And you have just insulted them in writing, in terms so dismissive and condescending that if they become public, you will destroy British-American relations for a generation." Churchill wasn't just reprimanding Montgomery, he was issuing an ultimatum. "Here is what will happen, Bernard. You will immediately cease all private correspondence discussing American forces or command. You will make no further public statements about the Bulge that could be interpreted as critical of American performance. More importantly, you will issue a public statement, unambiguous, acknowledging American courage and competence during the Bulge. You will praise American soldiers. You will credit American command. You will make absolutely clear that British and American forces worked together as equals. And Bernard, understand this. If you resist, if you continue down this path of insulting our allies, I will not protect you. Eisenhower wants you gone already. Many American commanders would celebrate your relief. If you give them cause, if this letter or anything like it becomes public, I will tell Eisenhower that Britain will not object to your removal. You have achieved much in this war. Don't destroy your legacy, and Britain's standing through arrogance and insulting those who fight beside us." Montgomery, according to second-hand accounts, was shocked into silence. He had never heard Churchill speak to him with such cold fury. He had never been threatened so explicitly. He apparently tried to argue that his assessment was purely military, not political, that he was merely expressing professional judgment about command and training. Churchill's response was devastating. "Your professional judgment is that troops, who held under impossible circumstances, are inadequate? That command which stopped Germany's last offensive is amateurish? Bernard, either your judgment is catastrophically wrong, or your ego has blinded you to reality. Either way, you will fix this immediately." The call ended with Churchill's final chilling words. "I am sending you draft language for a public statement. You will issue it within 48 hours, exactly as written. Do you understand?" Montgomery apparently agreed. What choice did he have? Churchill had made clear the consequences of refusal: loss of command, loss of reputation, loss of everything Montgomery had built. Within 48 hours, Montgomery issued a public statement that stunned everyone who had heard his January 7th press conference. In it, he praised American forces effusively. He described American soldiers' courage during the Bulge as exemplary. He credited American command with making critical decisions that stopped the German offensive. Most importantly, he explicitly stated that British forces had worked under American overall command, and that any success was shared equally among all Allied forces. The statement was so dramatically different from his previous tone that some American officers were suspicious, recognizing it as damage control rather than genuine sentiment. But it served its purpose. It dramatically reduced tensions. It allowed Eisenhower and American commanders to accept it as a sufficient apology. It prevented the political crisis that Churchill so greatly feared. What American commanders didn't know, and what wasn't revealed until after the war, was that Montgomery had issued the statement under direct orders from Churchill. That it wasn't Montgomery's genuine reassessment, but Churchill's masterful damage control. The private letter that triggered Churchill's fury remained a secret for decades. Had it become public in January 1945, the consequences Churchill warned about might very well have materialized. American commanders might have indeed demanded Montgomery's relief. The U.S. Congress might have questioned British gratitude. The alliance might have fractured at the worst possible moment. Churchill's intervention, swift, decisive, and laced with threats, prevented that crisis. By forcing Montgomery to publicly contradict his private contempt, Churchill preserved the alliance while privately disciplining his general. Montgomery's insult and Churchill's response revealed deeper tensions in the Allied relationship by 1945. There was a palpable British anxiety about declining influence. Britain had fought since 1939, had nearly lost in 1940, and had sacrificed enormously. But by 1945, America was clearly the dominant partner. More troops, more resources, more influence over strategy. For British leaders like Montgomery, this transition was undoubtedly painful. His insulting characterization of American forces was, in part, a denial about Britain's declining global role. Conversely, there was American sensitivity about British condescension. Many American commanders felt British officers often treated them as amateur colonials who desperately needed British military expertise. Montgomery, with his aristocratic air and pronouncements, embodied this attitude. His press conference and private letter seemed to confirm American suspicions that their British allies often looked down on them. Churchill's diplomatic genius truly shone through. He understood what Montgomery didn't, that the alliance's power balance had irrevocably shifted. Britain simply couldn't afford to alienate America. Churchill's willingness to threaten his own revered general to preserve American goodwill demonstrated a political realism that Montgomery completely lacked. The incident also underscored the inherent fragility of coalition warfare. It revealed how personal relationships and perceived slights, fueled by ego and national pride, could genuinely threaten even the most crucial strategic partnerships. Churchill's intervention prevented such a derailment. What makes this episode particularly striking is how incredibly close it came to disaster. If Montgomery's letter had leaked to American commanders before Churchill intervened, the consequences Churchill warned about might have occurred. Eisenhower might have demanded Montgomery's relief. The American press might have sensationalized British condescension, and Congress might have questioned continued partnership with what they perceived as ungrateful allies. Churchill's swift action, threatening Montgomery, forcing the public statement, prevented this. But it was, by all accounts, a near thing. Allied unity survived, but the incident vividly showed how fragile that unity actually was beneath the surface. After the forced public statement, Montgomery's relationship with Churchill was never quite the same. Montgomery understood he'd been threatened and forced to publicly contradict his private views. He resented it, but he also understood that Churchill had probably saved his career. Had the letter become public without Churchill's intervention, Montgomery might well have been relieved of command in disgrace. Churchill, for his part, never fully trusted Montgomery again. He recognized that Montgomery's ego and condescension toward Americans was a recurring, problematic trait. After the war, Churchill was careful in his memoirs to credit American contributions extensively and to scrupulously avoid suggesting British superiority. The private letter itself remained classified for decades. When it was finally declassified and became public in the 1970s, it confirmed what many suspected. Montgomery's public statements about Allied cooperation often masked a deep-seated private contempt for American forces. Military historians now use the incident as a classic case study in the challenges of coalition warfare. It teaches that personal relationships matter. National pride matters. Managing egos is as fundamentally important as managing armies. Churchill's recognition of this, and his willingness to discipline his own general to preserve the alliance, exemplifies strategic leadership at its highest level. When Churchill told Montgomery, "You have just written yourself out of history," he was expressing both profound fury and shrewd strategic calculation. Fury at Montgomery's arrogance and political blindness, and calculation about what preserving the alliance absolutely required, even if it meant threatening Britain's most famous active general. Montgomery's private insult revealed his true feelings about American forces. Churchill's response revealed his true priorities. Preserving the alliance mattered more than defending British pride or protecting Montgomery's reputation. History proved Churchill right. The alliance held. Germany was defeated. The post-war global order was built significantly on Anglo-American cooperation. All of this required subordinating ego to strategy, national pride to necessity. Montgomery, to his lasting detriment, never fully accepted this. His post-war memoirs remained dismissive of American military competence. But by then, it didn't truly matter. Britain was clearly the junior partner, and Montgomery's opinions could no longer change that reality. Churchill understood this in January 1945. Montgomery didn't, and that profound difference in understanding is why Churchill's legacy as a strategic leader endures, while Montgomery's legacy is complicated by exactly the arrogance Churchill so sharply warned against.